Hello and welcome to the second installment of Fighting for Freedom. I'm your host, Joshua Rosebrough, and today's topic is probably even more fun than the last one. And hey, it's June, so you know what that means. No. Put down the pitchforks. It's okay. We're not talking about the normal June things. No, instead of what I'm actually referring to is the up-and-coming decision by the Supreme Court on Roe versus Wade, which will just be so much fun and will just unite the entire country in harmony. And I'm obviously kidding. This is going to be a colossal dumpster fire. I'm guessing that a majority of you that are watching have already had debates or seen debates online regarding this particular subject matter. Some of you probably have friends that, are staunchly for or against it. Maybe you've seen them going at it. Maybe you've gone after it yourself. And maybe you found that your friends list grew a couple people shorter overnight. So the deal is that, we as people on the right and as Christians have in many ways an advantage, being that the truth is on our side, but we have a massive disadvantage because we are not willing to usually go as low as the left when it comes to their skullduggery and their tactics of fighting on this particular subject matter. But don't be worried, people. I'm here today to tell you kind of some of their arguments and some of the counter rhetoric with which to be able to hit back with. And I'm not saying hit back with like oppressive force or anything like that. We're not beating them to submission. Rather, we're standing for the truth and we're fighting for freedom. The freedom with which to be able to protect the unborn from annihilation and continued deletion. Because, eugenics is a thing that the left seems to really love. And abortion is really nothing more than just eugenics. Just look at Margaret Sanger. If you're going to do any kind of research into her, she was, oh boy, you talk about somebody who needs to be canceled. But, because there's somebody that aligns with the left, that means that they're untouchable. You can't cancel them. Doesn't matter how bad they were. Anyway, let's actually get into some of the argumentation. Thank you for all of the people that subscribed to the first video. I am greatly humbled by that. If you're new here, go ahead and hit that thumbs button. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Hit the notification bell. It helps the channel to grow. Share this with your friends. We are trying to combat the evil leftist narrative that is pervasive and persists within our world today by proclaiming the truth. And this is on both sides of the aisle, actually. Both left and right-hand kingdom. We're talking left-hand kingdom. We're talking primarily politics here. But on this particular subject, I will actually be crossing the aisle into the right-hand kingdom and giving some good argumentation that you can use against fellow believers who say that they're pro-choice when God's law clearly says that they don't have room to stand on such a side. Anyway, okay. So, yeah, we all it was like a little over a month ago, or about a month ago, that the SCOTUS decision got leaked, which of course has never really happened in American history from the reports that I've had. Mind you, there's people out there saying, "Oh goodness, this happened before." No, it hasn't. Not like this. This is completely unprecedented, and you've probably seen a lot of pundits and stuff like that talking about it, this, that, and the other. But we're gonna move past that part of it, and we're gonna actually get down to what happens online, what happens between you and someone who advocates for abortion. All right, so what has happened in the time since the leaking? We've had leftists protesting outside the homes of the Supreme Court justices, which, by the way, is illegal. And the newly appointed governor of Virginia has done nothing to stop this, even though it's within his right to do so. And don't even get me started on Merrick Garland being the head of the Department of Justice. I mean, oh, no. Like, his actions and all of this just proves that being blocked from being on the Supreme Court was a godsend. We do not need that man in power. We do not need him anywhere near decision-making abilities. So, that aside, we will continue. Oh, and also, another point of contention is that leftists have actually started firebombing pregnancy centers. Yeah, pregnancy center, not abortion clinics, not where the people are actually killed or anything. No. The places where women are, implored to come, have a conversation. Would you like to, choose life over choosing the annihilation of your unborn child? We will give you free blankets, diapers, like this, that, and the other. There's centers that are designed to help women during trying times. Leftists decided, yeah, we hate those places. Let's firebomb those. Shows you who the tolerant people are. But as I was kind of stating earlier, Christians and people on the right generally don't really have many good rhetorical answers when it comes to the fiery barbs of the left. There are those of us out there that, that stand, and we staunchly say, no, this is not true, this is not true, this is not true. But a majority of the people out there, I mean, come on, we want to get along. We don't want to be fighting. We don't want to be name calling. We don't want to be in fights because it causes division, this, that, and the other. Well, too bad. I'm sorry. This particular debate, whether or not we're going to have, 63 plus million deaths on our hands, which is, we're never washing that off, by the way. As a nation, we have that on our hands. Ever since the passage of Roe v. Wade 50 some odd years ago, we've had 63 million deaths on our hands. And a lot of that, like in the last decade or two, whatever, we've been selling body parts for science, for profit, this, that, and the other. It's been exposed. You got to just do a couple of Google searches to find that out. But let's get into some of the left-hand kingdom arguments, because the thing is that as someone who believes in biological reality, you can make arguments against abortion without even having to dip into the scriptures, which leftists really hate. They very much hate that. You can actually argue from a viewpoint of natural law with which to combat their false narratives. Mind you, the second you start doing this, they're going to accuse you of being, oh, you're just a right-wing bigot who loves Jesus. Or at least nowadays the rhetoric is that you love some sort of white supremacist Jesus. And mind you how I butchered that word. I did that on purpose, by the way, so as to kind of get past some of the censorship on the internet. But yeah, no, if you believe that Jesus didn't believe that murdering unborn children was wrong, then somehow you're believing in a Jesus that didn't exist, which is, goodness, whatever. But we're arguing from strictly left-hand kingdom, natural law standpoint here for starters. So one of the things that they levy at you, which it's actually it's character assassination that's masquerading as an argument, is you're not pro-life, you're just pro-birth. Yeah, I'm pro-birth. You got me. Oh no, I am very much pro-birth. I believe that human beings, when they are conceived, they grow in the womb, I believe that they should be born. That's not a winning argument against me or anyone with actually any kind of moral scruples. Congratulations, I'm pro-birth. Yay! But the second part of that particular statement, well, it's like, you're just pro-birth because you don't care what happens to them once they're born. Everyone that's levied that against me does not know me. They don't. Well, one person knows me, but they don't really care to actually know me. You don't care about them once they're born. You tell them to get a job and be productive members of society. Oh my gosh. Again, as I said, it's character assassination masquerading as an argument. You don't have to accept their terms. So the deal is that we as a nation decided years ago that, hey, the government is actually pretty good at taking care of people, which is farcical. It's a joke. Well, it's a joke to anyone, and it's not a really funny one either, but, a lot of people seem to believe that. Bernie Sanders! Excuse me. But the thing is that before the U.S. government decided to kind of take ownership of caring for people, it was primarily the Christian church that did that. They provided shelter, clothing, food. They took care of their local communities. Mind you, nowadays, like, you have churches like, Osteen's church down there in Texas, where they lock the doors during a hurricane so as people couldn't take refuge inside of their large stadium. Of course, I don't really consider Joel Osteen to be much of a Christian anyway, because his doctrine is completely bunk. The guy cares more about his, dental hygiene than he actually does the properly dividing of law and gospel. But again, getting into the right-hand kingdom stuff. It's so easy for me to get into that mode where I kind of go into the fighting for the faith stuff, because that's kind of that's my full-time job, and it's what I live and breathe. I'm trying to actually do this as a way to kind of get out of that. I'm talking about myself. All right, no. That's for like a Q&A session or something. Anyway, we as the American citizens gave up our agency, and we also took away the responsibilities of the church and laid it upon the state to do so. And one of the ways with which we did that was by, hey, we are going to pay more taxes so that you do the stuff that we as the church did, even though that's technically within our vocation and call from Christ. But yeah, we're going to have the state do it. Mind you, the state is corrupt. The state is evil. There is no government on human earth that you can actually say is good by Christian standards. There are certainly some that are, by worldly standards, are less evil than others. But I, as a principle, do not like the federal government at all whatsoever. Why do I say that? I used to be a sailor. I had a top secret security clearance with the U.S. Navy on a submarine. I used to work for the government. When I tell people that, and I also tell them, I have more reasons than a lot of people not to trust the government, they get really mad at me. Like, well, don't you believe that government is good? Like, no, it's not. It's not good. It's not good at all. Stay away from it. Take as much power from it as possible. Distribute it amongst the people. So, and the distribution of powers is a good thing. The decentralization of power is a good thing. We don't need more powerful government, because we as the American people, using our tax dollars, gave the government more power, which to be able to care for people, and that's gone about as well as you can possibly imagine. I mean, look at the places like Southern California, Los Angeles. Skid Row is a thing, and in fact, it's not even so much a Skid Row anymore. It's kind of actually just a huge section of the city now. Or I mean, look at San Francisco, where the streets are paved with human fecal matter. Yeah, government is so good. So good. Like, the more powerful the government, the weaker and more poor the people become. Weird. It's like it's some sort of inverse property. But anyway, the deal is that the church does not provide charitable services to people anymore. So, by that metric, when they say you don't care about children that are born, that's false. That is very false. The American people were lied to and said, your tax dollars will go to helping these people in need. All it does now is just line the pockets of corrupt politicians. It doesn't actually help anybody. Sure, there may be some people that are helped. I mean, like during the height of the pandemic, there was, there were funds that were, designated to help those that were in need. But again, a lot of those funds went to line the pockets of corrupt politicians and put money into the hands of corrupt arts institutes and stuff like that. And small businesses didn't really see a whole lot of that. Weird, right? So the thing is that I'm a member of a church. We have children that attend our church. We, as a church body, do what we can with our limited funding to try to help those in the local community, even those that are abroad. So, when somebody tells you you don't care about born children, laugh in their face. They don't know they don't know you. They don't know you. And what makes matters worse is that even if, let's go with the worst case scenario, even if you did not give two cents about the children that are born, that still does not negate the argument that you can be against murdering them before they are born. Those are not mutually exclusive ideas. You could absolutely despise children that are born and at the same time say, I would prefer that they have the right to life. All right. Moving on from that argument. So one of their other arguments, they say there are no laws that give the government control over a man's body in a similar manner, because it's all about men shouldn't legislate women's bodies. Every single law that is ever written dictates what you can and cannot do with your body. Think about it for just 1 second. It is illegal to smuggle drugs across the border for good reasons. Drugs are not good. Drugs are not good for you. They're not good for the community. They're not really good for anyone, except for the people that are, selling them, I guess. Thinking like, ooh, profit, woo. But of course, cartels are not good, objectively. So, I'm not allowed to pick up a kilo of a illicit substance and walk across the border. Oh no, that law applies to both men and women. It applies to human bodies. In fact, it also applies to animal bodies, because you're not allowed to use them as mules, basically, to smuggle them. That's just one example of, say, hey, this is a law that tells you what you can or cannot do with your body. Weird. That wasn't that hard. But they'll deflect and they'll say, oh, well, there's no law that gives the government control over a man's body. Have you ever heard of the draft? Yeah, at 18 years of age, I had to sign paperwork that gave the U.S. government the right to tell me to leave my home, leave my family, leave my state, go anywhere that they wanted me to, put a rifle in my hands, and go tell me to go out onto a battlefield and die. That is far more involved than saying, hey, you made a choice to get pregnant, and we're just going to tell you you can't kill the kid. Aside from situations of rape, there is nobody forcing you to become pregnant. Nobody. Not a one. Of course, if you say, usually if you even get that far in a conversation with someone, usually at that point they're just banging the keyboard going, "Ree, no, you don't understand. You're not a woman. There's no uterus, no opinion." But, it's not like the party that tells us that abortion's fine didn't just spend, I don't know, the last couple of years telling us that men can get pregnant. Only magically now that Roe v. Wade is, in danger, is like, oh, we know what a woman is now. Speaking of what a woman is, apparently the guys over at the Daily Wire, Matt Walsh, just put out a documentary like yesterday or whatever. It's called "What Is a Woman." I haven't seen it yet. I actually very much want to. Apparently, it is excellent. I've seen a clip from it. Oh, it is terrifying. There's a beautiful, it's horrifying, but it's really beautifully written. It's C.S. Lewis's The Silver Chair, where the main protagonists are trying to save the prince from the evil witch, and the witch is sitting there strumming a harp and basically saying, "What is the sun? What is that?" Basically, it's the whole "did God really say" moment from Within the Garden. But I kid you not, Matt Walsh is sitting across from this gender ideology activist, and it's that same kind of creepy smile and, "Oh, but that's not right. But gender is fluid." It's the same vibe. It's creepy. It's horrifying. I'll have to do a video on that at some point, where I talk about the insanity that is the whole gender sexual identity thing. I could probably wrap that up in the whole why Pride Month is not good, and not wanting to get Nuke off the platform. I can't say it in harsher terminology. So yeah, the draft gives the government complete control over your body. And if you do not sign up for selective service, you can be fined, you can be imprisoned. Literally they will use force with which to get you to sign over the rights to your own body. And the thing is that women are not subject to this, and neither should they be. And women should not. In fact, I believe women shouldn't be in the military at all, because scientific studies have shown that mixed combat groups, or even like all female divisions, perform at a considerably lower rate than exclusively all male divisions. But again, that's probably another subject for another video. And another law that you can get into, where the government gets control over man, say, is child support. Like literally, we will garner your wages, take stuff from you, from your hard-earned work, and give it to someone else. Mind you, I personally don't have a problem with that, and the reason why is because if you're going to play reproductive games, you're going to win reproductive prizes. Responsibility is a thing. If you father a child, take care of it. If you father a child outside of wedlock, marry the woman and actually, take care of the woman and the child. But again, oh no, those right-wing ideas and those values that you'll hold. Oh no. Anyway, let's move on to another one of their arguments. They say that red states won't make exceptions for medical emergencies such as ectopic pregnancies and other medical problems. This is a bona fide lie. Just flat out lie. There is actually, I think it was Oklahoma and I could be wrong on this, so I might get corrected in the comments, but Oklahoma just recently passed a bill that basically makes abortion a felony, the taking of a life, and they make almost no exceptions for it, aside from medical emergencies and incest and rape. Mind you, but the whole medical emergencies thing, there's actually more nuance in that than you might actually realize. Because the deal is that abortion, under the definition that is given by a lot of people, is just simply the termination of a pregnancy. That is actually not true, all right? So the thing is that abortion is almost primarily tooled for an elective abortion, meaning that there was nothing, the mother's life was not in threat. There was... there was a lack of a lot of the things that would actually make taking the life of an unborn child necessary. It was just basically they were using it as birth control, which is just so terribly evil. But the deal, they say that there's no red state out there that makes these exceptions. Again, that is a bald-faced lie. Okay? The Oklahoma bill, as far as I know, makes exceptions for medical emergencies, which is only right and salutary to do. But, and this is the part I actually disagree with, it makes exceptions for incest and rape. I don't agree with that. I'll get onto my reasoning why I don't believe that pregnancies that come from incest and rape should be terminated. I'll get that in the next point. But for a medical emergency such as an ectopic pregnancy, the pregnancy is not valid. The pregnancy is not viable, because when it comes to female anatomy, you got the egg sacs, you get the fallopian tubes, and then you have the uterus. The thing is that the egg, the actual fertilized egg is like gets stuck in the fallopian tube and gets stuck there, and so if it starts to grow, then it will literally kill the mother. The mother will die. That is awful. Also, the egg doesn't really have the ability to grow that much because it actually needs to be implanted into the uterine wall with which to be able to receive nutrients. So it's not going to grow properly anyway. So mother's going to die. The actual child is not going to develop properly. Yes, it makes medical sense to terminate that pregnancy, but it's not an elective abortion. It doesn't actually count as abortion because you're taking something out that's not viable in the first place. There is nuance. So think about that. If somebody tells you, for matters of medical emergency, no, those exceptions exist. We do live within reality. In fact, a lot of people on the right actually see reality for what it is and would not give a woman the death sentence to carry a pregnancy that would never actually come fully to term. That's insane. But now we can get into the matters of rape and incest. So, okay, so let's go with the worst case scenario. You have a family member that forces themselves upon a woman and she becomes pregnant. So you have a 2-for-1 special, which is, and I'm not saying that as like some sort of dismissive thing. I'm just saying that whatever. Let's think about this for a moment. The perpetrator is the one at fault and is guilty of actually committing a crime. This unborn child who did not ask to be put into this world, who did not do anything under the law worthy of getting the death penalty, is going to get murdered, is going to be put to death because reasons. I don't care if the kid comes out deformed. I don't care if the kid is going to have a harder life because of the circumstances. And I don't say that in the way of like, the kid should suffer. Like, no. I have the principle that the child should have a right to life. And I can find this within the 14th Amendment. Okay? So let me pull this up and let's take a look-see at the actual language of the 14th Amendment so that we can read this for ourselves. The 14th Amendment reads as such: all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Ooh. State doesn't have the ability to deprive someone of life without due process. Now, naturally, to those of you out there that have engaged with the left, you would automatically know where the next step for their argumentation would go. They would say, well, fetus isn't a life. How is it not a life? In what way, shape, or form does this growing human not count as a human life? Oh, because it hasn't passed through the magical birth canal with which to grant it human rights. The semantics and the mental gymnastics that the left plays in order to downplay the humanity or the rights of the humanity of that child is despicable. It is absolutely astoundingly evil. And funny enough, the same arguments that the left uses in order to deny an unborn child their personhood are the exact same arguments that were used to deny black people personhood during the time of slavery. They're the same arguments. They're the exact same arguments. So why should we take any of their argumentation seriously? We shouldn't. We should not in any way, shape, or form take what they say with any kind of truth. Because what they do is these people are literally advocating for infanticide. Do I want to take the word of someone who is in favor of infanticide in any way, shape, or form and kind of give it any kind of, quarter? No, I'm not going to. I am simply not going to. And also, the leftists seem to think that killing an unborn child is a good thing. Like, oh, this child, he could grow up with problems. He has one leg shorter than the other. Well, I'm Senator Todd White, they'll sort that out. All kidding aside, if the child could be crippled, oh no, the child could be born to a poor household. That just sounds like you want to get rid of disabled people and poor people. The only reason why you find that acceptable is because you don't actually have to look the person in the face while you kill them. And unborn children are absolutely defenseless. It's sick and twisted. So, one of the questions that you might ask yourself is there any middle ground to be found on this particular subject matter? No. I'm sorry, there's not. There really isn't. I've racked my brain. I've thought about this for the better part of 2 decades, and there's no middle ground. What kind of compromise can you make on murder? Well, I mean, come on. I mean, if you murder him just a little bit, I mean, come on. If you do it the way that we'd like you to do it, then it's okay. No. There's no situation under the sun where taking the life of another human being in cold blood without due process can possibly be construed as something that's positive. And now there's somebody in the comments going, well, what about war? War is actually a different category. Nations go to war. You have an aggressor. You haven't and anyone out there that's on the left that is constantly going, oh yay, woo, Ukraine. Let's send them $40 billion more. There's a lot of nuance in that scenario. Putin did attack the nation. They are defending themselves. All the more power to them with which to defend themselves. I don't personally believe that we need to be involved. We don't need to inflate our currency further. I'm going off on a wild tangent here. But the deal is that soldiers, that is a vocation, and it is a good work unto neighbor to defend your homeland from those who would wish to cause it harm. That's a matter. Aggressor, defender. Aggressor attacks, defender defends, aggressor dies. That's not a crime. It was a crime of the people aggressing in the first place. So anyone out there that's going to be like, oh my gosh, soldiers are the worst. Yeah, no, don't miss me with that crap. I don't want to hear it. I'm not going to take that seriously. So, is there any compromise on abortion? No, there's none. There's none to be had. And the reason why is because the people that are advocating for abortion want abortion up to 9 months. They literally want it to be where you can, a minute before the child is born, literally going, cut the spinal column, kill the kid, we're done. I'm not even joking. Like, Governor Ralph Northam basically was quoted, and I did this on a radio program, where he said, well, we're going to, have the kid be born, make the kid comfortable, then the mother and the doctor can have a conversation. The kid's already born. You want, and then we'll discuss it later. We'll discuss it, see if we're going to, take the kid's life or not, whatever. Oh my gosh! That is monstrous. And California, I think, just passed in the House, and now it's going up to the Senate, a bill that would basically make it so that if a baby dies up to 7 days after being born, that there's going to be no investigation, and that, literally, oh, well, who cares? Baby, kid's dead. It's within 7 days of being born. Who cares? No investigation. And people and detractors have rightfully called it the infanticide bill for obvious reasons, because, that could never possibly be abused by sociopaths or people in California, I guess. And, oh, goodness. So, where the left-hand kingdom is, we can clearly look to the Constitution, we can clearly look to biological reality, and all sorts of these other factors to know that the unborn child is, in fact, a human being with constitutional rights. And constitutional rights are actually enumerated God-given rights that the state has to acknowledge and cannot infringe upon. Whether or not the state actually, cares about it, whether or not going to infringe on those rights is a different topic entirely. Also, one of the other, like, a nice counterpoint to the whole, like, oh, it's a clump of cells and it's not life or whatever. You find, like, scientists find a clump of cells on Mars. We found life on Mars. Like, the champagne bottles. Woo! We found life on Mars. Yeah, we found life on Mars. We found life on Mars. And like, none of these leftists would be surprised or adverse to that. Like, no, that's just a clump of cells on Mars. That's not life. An amoeba is considered life. A single-celled organism. So tiny. So very tiny. Still considered life. The clump of cells that basically makes up a human being very quickly becomes much larger than an amoeba. So don't give me this, oh, it's just a clump of cells and it's not actually life. BS. Bovine scatology. Don't give me that. I'm not putting up with it. The medical community takes an oath to do no harm. Abortion is harm. Abortion is the taking of the life of a unborn human. And thanks to all of our technological advancements, we're actually being able to, like, a child is more viable shorter and shorter into the actual pregnancy period. So artificial wombs are going to become a thing probably at some point. That's going to have all sorts of weird implications. And moral questions, which I don't think anyone, not a large section of the scientific community, will not be able to answer in any kind of meaningful way. But again, that's aside from the fact. More often than not, we don't actually have to take the life of the child in order to get the outcome that the mother desires. Okay, so you're X amount of months along. We can take the child out and we can put them in some kind of bag and let them grow from there. That's tech that's coming down the line. More and more, abortion is just becoming an unacceptable evil that doesn't need to happen because the child has not broken any laws and therefore cannot be tried by the state and found guilty of anything worthy of the death penalty. So, now, for all those people out there that might be thinking, well, what about those Christians out there who believe that abortion is fine? Well, I hate to break it to you, but the fifth commandment exists of thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not kill. It's pretty self-explanatory. But they might also say, well, like life comes at first breath, what can be found in one passage. Like, hey, like a child, an unborn child isn't human yet, so killing it won't be a problem. Or even worse, oh gosh, I hate this argument. Like, oh, just filling the vaults of heaven, this, that, and the other. Oh my gosh, like we're just gonna send the child straight to heaven. You don't know that. You have no idea what happens to that child once they're gone. Far be it from you to presume that child that has just been murdered actually goes to heaven. You don't know that. I don't know that. Is that something that I would like to be able to tell myself? Yes. It makes me feel better at night about the 63 plus million people that have been terminated before they were born. I'd like to think that they're residing with the Lord now. I don't know. I have no way of knowing for absolute certainty where those children are right now. And that's terrifying. And that's the reality of the situation. But there are some arguments that can be made actually from Scripture that give us the idea, or at least confirm, in my opinion, that unborn humans are still humans. So, let's take a look-see at Luke chapter 1, verse 39. So, let's take a look-see here. Now, mind you, I don't have my father's fancy program. And for all those people out there that ask in the comments, like, what's the program that you use for the Bible and stuff like that? All of the programs that we use for editing, for recording, for the things that you see on screen. That's all in the description down below. I need to copy paste a little bit of that for myself for this channel on here. But anyway, we're gonna start at verse 39. Now, mind you, this is post Mary being told that she's gonna be with child. And so she's going to visit Elizabeth while Elizabeth herself is also pregnant with John the Baptist. In those days, Mary arose and went with haste into the hill country to a town in Judah. And she entered the house of Zechariah and greeted Elizabeth. And when Elizabeth heard the greeting of Mary, the baby leapt in her womb. And Elizabeth was filled with the Holy Spirit. And she exclaimed with a loud cry, "Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb. And why is this granted to me that the mother of my Lord should come to me?" Ooh, that is a statement of faith. The baby leapt inside her, and she was filled with the Holy Spirit. That has some implications. For behold, when the sound of your greeting came to my ears, the baby in my womb leapt for joy, and blessed is she who believed that there would be a fulfillment of what was spoken to her from the Lord. To those of you out there that would say that an unborn child is not fully human, how did John the Baptist know to leap at the presence of his Lord and Savior? Oh, but that's just a special case. No. See, that doesn't count. That's only one time. That doesn't matter. No, you can't apply this to all unborn children on planet Earth. That's ridiculous. This, that, and the other. Wow. That is some mental gymnastics there. You might want to look into what it is that you believe when the text clearly disproves your point. But there's another argument that I want to levy at you, people out there who believe that unborn children are not in fact human or have life. We as Christians believe that God, Jesus Christ specifically, is both God and man simultaneously, the two natures in Christ. Is there a point after Christ was conceived in the womb of Mary that he was only God and not man? Was there a point, an arbitrary point in the developmental stage of pregnancy that Jesus became both God and man? Did you just start off as God, and then as you grow, and at that point right there, became man? No. To deny that Christ is both God and man at all points throughout his continued existence is actually considered heresy. So that also applies to the time that he's in the womb. Uh-oh. That's a big uh-oh. You don't get to play God and tell Christians, tell me, tell anyone that believes that unborn children are truly human that we're wrong. You're done. Your arguments are false. And I have no reason to give you any credence. None whatsoever. So you can come at me with your slanderous lies that I don't care about born children. You can lie to me and say that children that are unborn are not humans. I don't believe any of it. And you can't make me. So this is Josh Roseborough for Fighting for Freedom. Remember, folks out there, that the road is tough, but fight hard, fight true, and don't give up faith. Roseborough out.